How was your day, man? How was your day?
Day was a hectic one today, for sure, man. Scrambling. I was trying to get everything done so I could get here in time to make this happen with you. Word.
I appreciate you taking the time, man. I know it's a bit late, but it'll be worth your time, man. It's going to be a good one. Um, for those, just joining or just learning to spit gems, I've been following dude on Instagram for a minute now. I know he could rap his ass off and spit the kind of bars that really make you stop and think, but I caught him making posts about like putting out his last album maybe and just commentary about the state of hip hop and things like that. Some real heavy shit for an artist, and that really made me want to reach out and talk to you, man. And I'm just giving everyone a heads up that I'm going to be pulling out a lot of quotes from his posts and music. It's going to be one of those interviews. So you've been forewarned. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. And just again, for the people that might just be learning to spit gems, I find his style to be super direct. He's got a vocab, but he doesn't do that lyrical miracle shit. It's a heavy listen, purpose driven, raw. Check him out if you haven't as of yet, man. So that's my introduction, man.
Much appreciated.
So before we get into that all that though, man, I wanted to ask you, I saw you interviewing like Pat Miletich from the UFC and all that, Hall of Famer. I think his name is Dean Thomas, bumping your music or Din Thomas. And obviously you train. So I wanted to ask you, how far back do you go as a MMA fan?
No doubt, no doubt. First and foremost, shout out to Pat. Shout out to Pat Miletich, man. Shout out to Dean Thomas. That was mad ill when I seen that. Um, yeah, I mean, yo, it started with me. It started with boxing when I was young. I had
Okay.
these dreams and aspirations that's what I was gonna do with my life. If you asked me at one point, I would have
Right.
told you, yo, I'm gonna be a professional boxer.
Got it.
And that started from my father is a boxing fanatic. You know what I
Mm,
mean? So when I came around my father, wasn't always around my father because he was away for a while in my youth. You know what I'm saying? But when I did get back around him, that was a lot of what we spoke about, and he was showing me things at a young age. You know what I'm saying? How to
right.
throw a proper jab, how to throw a proper hook. How to do certain things, how to move, teaching me footwork, teaching me how to train in certain ways. So when I was young, I had aspirations of going to the Golden Gloves. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And that got derailed for a couple different reasons. Street fighting, you know what I mean? I had destroyed a couple of my metacarpals with
Mm,
boxer fractures in the streets.
okay.
And then also, being in and out of prison from a young age, derailed a lot of things and hindered a lot of things, I should say, made it difficult for a lot of shit to come to fruition. But as far as MMA is concerned, that as far as being a fan, that was from the beginning. From the
Right.
since UFC was on VHS tapes. You know
Okay.
what I mean? From the very beginning, I was like, yo, this is insane, man. I don't know if dudes remember back in the days, there was an arcade game called Pit Fighter.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah.
You remember Pit Fighter?
We're about the same age, I think. So yeah, of
No
course.
doubt,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
was
yeah.
a bodega around my way in Queens that had that game in there.
Right.
And I was just always fascinated by that Fight Club, you know what I mean, no holds barred kind of shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it was always there. But I mean, I would say like the last 15 to 20 years of my life, I really, like just became a super fan of it. And I think because it's so diverse and it's so expansive as an art form,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And as a sport, that it kind of overshadowed my love for boxing in a way. So I began aiming my training, in that direction.
Right. So you've spent time doing MMA training formally, like in classes or anything
I've,
like that,
I've never
or
I've taken classes with individuals. You know what I'm saying? Like I've
right.
been blessed. I've been lucky and fortunate enough to be around people that are heavily involved, and I mean heavily involved. So I've
Yeah.
been able to soak up a lot of knowledge and a lot of practical training from people I know personally.
What's your favorite era of MMA? Because similar to you, I actually caught the first UFC with my friends on satellite, like it was live. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Broadcast. So what's your favorite era in MMA, bud? Do you have a favorite era or
it's hard to say, man, because I'm such a, I watch everything. You know what I'm saying? Like I,
right?
I watch everything. I don't miss a fight. You know what I'm saying? As far as not MMA, I'm not watching everything. I'm not watching every single amateur fight, and you know what I mean? Like, but
Yeah.
on all the main channels and the main components of it, I'm all in. I To be honest though, man, I kind of just recently, when Adesanya had the belt, and when he was chasing the belt, I felt
Right.
like the middleweight division in UFC was just tremendous. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. Right.
Just so many talented brothers. You know what I mean? So that might be a strong competitor for maybe my favorite era. You know what I'm saying?
Got it. Yeah,
But
man.
I'm
That
still all in though. That's why I don't want to say definitively that, because I think there's a lot of amazing shit going on right now. Like especially with Ilya Topuria is my favorite fighter right now. I think the world of this dude. You know what I mean? And and,
yeah,
and not
yeah.
just because he's got the belt and he's that guy. I felt that way from the second I seen him. I said, yo, this dude is different. Because
Right.
he blends those two worlds. It's like I'm watching a boxer in the
Power and
octagon.
speed. Power and speed.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Tremendously skilled.
Yeah, man. So, speaking of combat, you got an album called Island Boxing School. Forgot what year that was. I peeped it. It's a crazy title. I think I understand the meaning of that, but do you want to break down for us what's behind that title?
No doubt, no doubt. Forgive me if I don't know the exact year, man. It might have been 22 or 23. Time is beginning to just fucking all blend together to me at
Yeah,
this point in
you
my
at
life,
that
man.
age. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah. So Rikers Island Boxing School is something. It's very on the nose. You know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, for those who do know my story, I spent a lot of time in and out of that place.
Right.
That was my residence for a long time in my life. So um, learning how to fight, that place played a significant part
Mm,
in learning how to fight to the level that I feel that I can perform at. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
yeah, so I felt like it was a way for me to. I'm always trying to take things, especially tragic things from my life, unfortunate events. I'm always trying to take them and turn them into something positive, or turn them into something that could serve me in a positive
Yeah.
way. And I felt like, because Rikers Island had taken so much from me in terms
Mm,
of my freedom and my ability to do things in years, and you know what I'm saying, a lot of pain in that place. I felt like I could use this now for my benefit. You know what I'm saying? I could
yeah.
use this as a title for me to get bread. You know what I'm saying? Like, and for
Yeah,
me
yeah.
to put my ideas out there, and also, you know, also to help catapult my ultimate message, which is, you know, that I hope people don't end up there. You know what I'm saying? I went there so that people don't have to go there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so
The
that has a lot to do with it. You know what I
the
mean?
thing one of the things that's dope about your music is got deep meaning, you know what I'm saying? Even down
No
to the
doubt.
title like that, you know what I'm saying? So regarding growing up, man, did I catch it right? Did you grow up in Astoria, Queens? Do you still live
Absolutely.
there? Did you move around? Like what's the story there, man?
Yeah, so my whole life, you know what I mean? I've been back and forth from Astoria, Queens to East New York, Brooklyn. And that's simply because my father was born in Puerto Rico, came here when he was a younger man, you know what I'm saying? And they landed in East New York, Brooklyn.
Right,
His father, his mother, his family, my uncles, you know what I mean? And my grandmother used to live, originally in the Bronx before my time, but they wound up migrating to first Queensbridge, you know what I mean, and then Astoria, you know what I'm saying?
got it.
So my
Got it.
mother's from Astoria, my father's from East New York, and I lived with both of them at different times. I lived with my family in East New York, and I lived with my mother also at times. I was a troubled kid, man. You know what I'm saying? So
Gotcha.
I moved back and forth a lot.
So you know what? Um about growing up, before we continue, I wanted to quote some bars off of your 2011 project, Welcome to Hell's Gate. By the way, I spent the whole month going through Spit Gem's music. You know, I found out about
Really,
him years ago, I recalled, but I've spent the whole month, man, before the interview. So,
that's much
by the
appreciated.
way, is Hell's Gate like your first like major project? Before I quote these bars, like how would you describe? Because on Spotify, that's your first one, 2011.
Yeah, yeah. So that would be the first the first one I uploaded to the streaming services. But
Okay.
um the first two projects, Aeronomics and Evolution, when I was under that name, those were essentially mixtapes, I would call them. And then after that, I did a project with Shazil York called The Opposition, which
Okay.
isn't really available anywhere. You know what I mean? It was on hard copy at the time. I'm not sure if it's on any, other third party sites or whatever like that, but it's definitely not on streaming services. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, a lot of material that would have been my debut, like my debut album, my first
Okay.
album, winded up being the material on the Opposition tape. You know what I'm saying? A lot of
Yeah.
the choruses, a lot of the verses. We when we and Shaz joined forces, I used a lot of that material.
Right.
Uh, a lot of it, which was written in prison, I
Right.
used for that Opposition album, Rules of Engagement, it was called. And then because that fusion was so in the pocket with me and Shaz, when I did Welcome to Hell's Gate, it was essentially like another Opposition album. You know what I mean? If you look at Welcome to Hell's Gate and you look at the track listing and the features and all that,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's essentially another Opposition album.
It
You know what I mean? So you could say it's my first. You know what I mean? But I look at it like it came in pairs. You know what I mean?
got it.
Opposition and Welcome to Hell's Gate.
Got it. I'll
Word.
tell you the reason why I asked, because the opening bars on the track Broken Oath, I thought it set, like, if that was your, first big drop, it sort of set the pace for everything you're doing. So I'm gonna quote those bars.
No doubt.
So Lord, forgive me for the sins I committed, for the innocence I've ruined and the horror that I've witnessed, the secrets that I can't share, the sorrow I've inflicted, my knowledge of the scriptures that I've squandered and resisted. Tomorrow's a victim, promises not existent. I beg you, show me mercy for my crooked past. I took a pill and followed Alice through the looking glass. Lost in torture, I created so unfortunate. A noble laureate, a bastard inglorious, merchant of my emporium of devilish intent, the indelible, elusive peddler of resent. Those who meddled in my matters were shattered with no event. What I'm after is redemption, my blessings will not decay. Got a queen, I got a raisin, a nephew on the way. I'm forsaken, I'm a fight till my last lively breath. I refuse to make acquaintance from an untimely death. That shit sounds like it's written like scriptures, like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I
Um,
appreciate that. Appointments. That last line is, I refuse to make appointments for an untimely death.
okay, gotcha. Thank
No
you.
doubt.
So yeah, man. I was gonna say the way you grow up informs your music, and I was gonna ask you what growing up was like. I think you've kind of answered that question. I don't know if you want to share any more, like, about what growing up as a kid was like, or you pretty much think you covered it.
Yeah, I mean, growing up was a difficult thing because I come from the family, both on both sides. The families that I come from were very, very much active in the street and dealing with their own turmoils when I
Right,
came into existence. You know what I mean? So I was born into a certain kind of life and a certain
right,
kind of lifestyle, and that was certainly difficult. At the time, I had no idea that's just how life was. But as I've reflected, as an older man, I look back, I realized how insane it was. You know what I mean? From my birth. You know what I mean? So,
right.
and then picking a lot of things up and also reacting horribly to a lot of the traumatic experiences I went through as a child led me, to a dark place real early. You know what I mean? I started
Yeah,
committing crimes. I mean, serious crimes. I started committing when I was very young, and
right.
I started getting in trouble real young. You know what I mean? And being in and out of Spofford, being in and out of DFY, being in and out of Rikers Island, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? So undoubtedly, man, it was a very arduous road growing up.
Got it. Got it. You know what? I just want to point out, Show Off NYC said I just copped his entire collection. Going through it now, man. That's pretty
Shout,
dope. Just want
shout
to
out
point
to the
that out, man.
homie O, man.
Yeah, man. So, I've heard you say, you've lived what a lot of these MCs only rap about or rappers rap about. Um, how many of these MCs do you think are capping? Can you tell when you listen to someone's lyrics, like, you're really not about this shit, or, is it a bit harder to tell?
I think I think I think anybody who's really been through the gauntlet in the streets
Right.
and paid the price for it, dealt with the
R-
consequences of it,
right.
and really been around a certain kind of caliber of people, you know what I mean, can absolutely tell who's faking jacks, you know what I mean, who's just doing creative writing, who's
Right.
trying to uh who's trying to impress people based on something that's not authentic. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
it's
Yeah.
definitely an energy that's projected, man. You can tell what's authentic.
Right. Right. I mean, eventually it'll show, right?
Indeed.
Um,
Some people get away
so
with it for a long time. You know what I mean?
true, true, true. So, so one of your most personal tunes off Welcome to Hell's Gate 2011, it's called Wasted Years. You're rapping about, your wife and daughter while you're away. But I wanted to ask you, like, how important was hip hop to getting you through that period? Was it integral or not so
Integral.
much?
Integral. First and foremost, the support of my wife would be the most integral part of getting me through those dark times and long stretches in prison, you know what I mean, and those times. Undoubtedly, when I was young, before I met her, I would say that hip hop was extremely integral, and even after I met her, my style, a big portion of my style, because I've spent close to 12 years of my life behind bars, locked up in different
Wow.
places. You know what I mean? So a a grand uh piece of my style and my approach to this music was crafted in prison yards. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
this I guess you could call it this aggression. You know what I mean? My delivery, the uh the element of militance and the way I approach things. I don't want to ever waste a sentence or waste a line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I used to be the audience. My audience for many years of my life was, you know what I mean, like just the absolute worst of the worst of New York City. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like murderers, thieves, hustlers. You know what I mean?
Right.
The tried and true criminal element of New York City. This is who I was speaking to. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So those yard ciphers and those lonely nights in the cell, you know what I'm saying, really have a great impact on the way that I write and how serious I take it. You know what I'm saying, when I
Yeah.
approach it, because that when you're in that atmosphere, man, it's just it's a different feeling. You know what I
I
mean?
mean, having gone through your music the last month is definitely different. It definitely stands out differently, bad. So yeah. Um, I watched a bunch of your interviews from your show, The Jewel Exchange. I thought it's a dope show, by the way. I like that you like do monologues for some episodes. Sometimes it's an interview. I think it's really dope. I think you're starting it up again, right?
Yeah,
You
very
said
soon,
okay.
very soon.
So I think everyone should check out some of the back episodes. But there's one question you regularly ask on your show, which I used to ask a lot actually, and that's whether you believe in God or religion. So was a religion a thing in your household at all growing up, and where do you stand with it
Yeah,
today?
on my father's side, my grandmother, may she rest in peace, Sabina. She was undoubtedly Catholic, you know what I mean, and extremely religious, you know what I mean. Into Santeria and all that as well, you know what I mean, to a certain extent, and just you know strong Jesus in that household for sure. You know what I mean? My father's Puerto Rican, my mother's Italian. You know what I mean? So
Right.
on my Italian side of the family, there wasn't really, I know most Italians have an extremely strong Catholic background as well, but
Yeah.
there wasn't really a lot of that with my grandmother. You know what I'm saying? She wasn't
God.
overly religious at all. But it, it was actually my stepfather's mother who introduced me to the concept of Jesus and Christianity in a way that was structured. You know what I mean? And
Right. Right. Right.
actually set me on the path of reading these scriptures at a real young age too.
So I know you do believe in God because I've watched your other content, but
Undoubtedly,
what's the clearest thing you've experienced in your life that lets you know that God exists?
mercy. It would have to be mercy at time and time again, and having having my prayers answered. You know what I mean? And you could say prayers, you could say cries for help, you could say just screaming out in agony for understanding. You know what I mean? Trying to get some solid grip on what's happening to me and why is it happening
Right.
and why am I seeing the things that I'm seeing? Why was I gifted with a certain kind of vision that can also be, quite a burden at times. It bring me to a place, it bring me to my knees, man. It bring me to a place where I undoubtedly understand that there is a creator. You know what I mean? There is
Right.
a force. You can call it, and I've spoke about this at length on the Jewel Exchange. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can call it. There's different words for it, different terms. You can call this energy, whatever. You can speak about it in a lot of different ways, but undoubtedly it exists.
Right. I'm still on that journey, but I like asking that question. I like seeing where people stand and why. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you sharing that. And where does organized religion fall short for you these days? Because I know,
It depends which one you're talking about, you know what I mean? But they all have problems for me, you know what I mean? And I think that it should be, many people will disagree with me, but I think it's rather clear at this point that the root of many of the problems in this world lies at groups of people claiming that they have the truth or that
yeah,
they have
absolutely.
the direct connection to the creator, that they have it
Yeah,
right, or that they're special in some way. I
yeah,
believe that is undoubtedly the absolute root of most of the problems in the world today. But if you want to get more nuanced than that, you can say, for me, it's, we could look at how disgusting a thing like slavery is. And then we
right.
can look at how that is just an integral part of almost every religion, every organized
Yeah,
religion,
yeah,
and
yeah,
how it was accepted and how it was even seen as a right. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I think we're at a point, you know what I mean, in evolution, mentally and spiritually, where we can say there's no way to defend that, whether retroactively or,
yeah,
most people try to reinvent it. Obviously, most Christians deal in apologetics, and it's in the word itself. There's
yeah,
a reason for apologetics is because these things are heinous. You know what I'm saying? And to assume that this is what God wanted, or that God was complicit in something as wicked as slavery, to me is just disgusting. And I would even call it blasphemous. You know what I'm saying?
right, 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 right. So going to a different topic, man, I caught that you had caught the Twin Towers go down from your balcony, man, in New York, man. Let me know if I got that right. I think that's a crazy event to witness, man. Just, life changed after that. But what was that like observing that, man?
Yeah. So not from my balcony, but from the roof of my building in East New York,
Got it, got it.
Cypress Hills Projects. Um, just surreal. Undoubtedly,
I,
just surreal was really the best word for it. Like, I thought it was the beginning of the end, and in many ways, some can argue. You could argue that maybe it was the beginning. It was certainly the beginning of the end of a lot of things.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but we, in the moment, like in real time, in the moment, we were thinking that we were under a full scale attack. You know, in,
right,
in that moment, and I just woke up that morning, and my daughter was a couple months old, 6 months old, something like that. And I just got up early. My lady stayed in bed. I said, "Yo, I'm gonna take the baby. I'm gonna go lay on the couch with her, give her a bottle, just lay there with her for a little while." And I went to do that. When I turned the TV on, one of the towers had been struck already.
right.
And you know what I mean? And I was just like, "What is happening?" But eventually I made my way up to the roof, and my whole neighborhood was up there, man. People who
Wild.
people who couldn't stand the sight of each other, people who wanted to kill each other. All of that had come to a standstill.
Wow.
There was no concern for that, because from my roof in Brooklyn, you could see the skyline clearly.
Mm. Wow, wow, man. So, wanted to ask you, being around the same age as me, I think. However, you being from NY, was there a moment? So, I'm from near Toronto. I grew up near Toronto. Was there a moment you recall being introduced to hip hop or first hearing it, or was it just like all around you, and you wouldn't really be able to recall like a specific moment in time?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to recall a specific moment in time because it was something I was absolutely born into. My mother
Right.
and my father were, you know, B boys, B girl, into graffiti, the whole nine. You know what I'm saying? So like, this was something that was in my household when I was, when I was born. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there are moments that stand out, and they come in the form of songs and albums. You know what I mean? The Great Adventures of Slick Rick. I remember like hearing that album for the first time all the way through, sitting in the back seat of the car. You know what I mean? And just the
Yeah.
album playing and just being, you know what I mean, like completely blown away. Like, with the level of storytelling and just how perfectly it all sounded. You know what I mean? It just made so much sense sonically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even to my young ears. You know what I mean? And then years after that, a couple years after that, Gangstar was a big one. I always go back to that one. Just to Get a Rep was like, when I heard Just to Get a Rep, that's a standout moment for me. You know what I mean? Storytelling once again, but telling a story of something that even at a very young age that I could relate to and I could understand
Right.
very clearly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. For me, it was different because my older cousin was deep into hip hop, but I'm from an area that really wasn't very hip hop in the 80s. And
Right.
when I was like 6 or 7, he gave me a mixtape with like Kool Moe D, Roxanne Shante, Beach Boys, and like other shit. But I just fell in love with hip hop and was
Yeah.
fascinated from there, So I like asking that question just, and I know for New Yorkers, it's everywhere.
You
So
said
at
Roxanne
that time.
Shante, Kumo D, and the Beach Boys or the Beastie Boys?
No, Beach Boys and like some house shit and like
No
there was
doubt, no
all
doubt.
kinds of shit, but I just gravitated to the hip hop, Cool Mo D and shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it turned out for me, man. Um, so yeah, so I heard you saying in another interview that when you were younger, you really didn't know it was possible for a Puerto Rican to really be out here rapping or taken seriously. Let me know if I got that right. And I thought that was interesting to hear coming from a New Yorker. Can you take us back to that time and line of thinking?
Yeah, that was when I was very, very young. You know what I mean? Before we had seen Fat Joe, before we had seen Curious, before there was a Chino XL or Big Pun. You know what I mean? And of course,
Yeah,
there were people like, Charlie Chase and Power Rule, these different people, the Microphone Prince. You know what I mean? But these weren't people that I was thoroughly aware of at such a young age. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
Um, and I always felt like where I saw my family um active was heavily in graffiti, you know what I mean? Heavily in b-boying, you know what I'm saying? Those things seem perfectly natural to me as a real young boy, you know what I'm saying? Like
right, right,
for my
right,
family and my people to be doing that.
right,
But there wasn't an over influx of Puerto Rican MCs that was visible to me at a
right.
real young age, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The
Word.
earliest I guess Latin one I remember is Kid Frost. Do you remember Kid Frost
Yeah, yeah,
from the
yeah.
West Coast? He was the earliest one I remember. But in a nutshell, wanted to ask you, what do you feel Puerto Ricans' contributions are to the beginning stages of hip hop?
I believe whether or not there was an over influx of Puerto Rican MCs in the very
Yeah,
beginning, I think what people fail to realize is that hip hop, right? And obviously some people are going to disagree with this. There's a lot of nuance to this, and a lot of people, especially if you're not from New York City, this
yeah,
may be difficult to understand, but or to accept. But
right.
hip hop is an art form that came from the inner cities of New York, from
Yeah,
the impoverished areas and neighborhoods of New York City.
yeah,
And
yeah,
those impoverished neighborhoods in New York City were full of Caribbean people, especially Puerto Rican people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's no way, whether or not we were rocking the mic on a majority level, you know what I mean? There's
Right.
no way to deny the
Yeah.
presence, you know what I mean, of Puerto Ricans in hip hop from the very beginning, you know what I mean? In in,
Right.
in multiple different ways and you know at different facets, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's where people get it fucked up. Is like, yo, but what MCs were there, you know what I mean? And certainly there was some, but I think to try to separate blacks and Puerto Ricans in New York City,
Right.
in neighborhoods like the South Bronx or fucking Bushwick or East New York,
Right.
you clearly are not from New York and you don't have enough
Uh,
knowledge about New York City and what those neighborhoods were like back in those
uh,
days. You know what I'm saying?
and if you weren't an MC, you were a fan or a b-boy, likely, right?
You
I'm
you
assuming,
were
right?
at the jam, you know what I'm saying, or
Right.
you were
Right.
doing graffiti, or you were
Yeah.
b-boying. You know what I mean?
Right.
Undoubtedly.
So, are there a few MCs that influence your style the most? When I first really started going through music, Immortal Technique hit me at times, not exactly, but here and there. Are there any MCs that influenced you? A few?
Undoubtedly, undoubtedly. I mean, just to touch on that, as far as a Mortal Technique, the truth is, I think because this, I haven't really got this the comparison until recently, like the last like year. I've heard like you're like the third person to say that now.
Really?
But yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the Mortal Technique comparison. First and foremost, shout out to Mortal Technique. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things about his catalog and about his contributions that I respect on a deep, deep level.
Yeah.
I think anybody who has seen my journey could easily distinguish us two, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah. Yeah.
what I do want to say about that, what I think those comparisons are based on is a certain level of aggression mixed
Yeah.
with intelligence. And
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's probably not too far fetched to make the comparison because there's not a lot of that around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
people, that's it's human nature to compare, right? So people need something to compare one thing or another to, right? So and I feel like aside from me in tech, there's not a lot of people that have that level of aggression that's matched with a skill in an intelligent form. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So I
if
understand
we
that.
if we're getting nerdy, man, like I spent a lot of time writing on and off. I've done the artist thing for a period of my life on and off. Structurally, your rhymes are very different, man.
Very, very different.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
You got a lot more structure to what you do and stuff like that. Just the energy, shades of
No
the
doubt,
energy.
no doubt.
Yeah.
Shout out
Um.
to Tech though. I will say, and this is the crazy thing, man, because I didn't obviously me and Tech are probably pretty close in age. He's probably a little older than me. I didn't grow up listening to Immortal Technique by any stretch, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Got it.
But and I think the reason for that is obviously because I was locked up and my access to certain albums and certain artists was limited. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But I will say this, while I was in prison at one point, the thing that inspired me undoubtedly from Tech and that I respect highly from him is I remember reading an article about how he took his own funds, his own money, you know what I'm saying, from his music and went to Afghanistan and helped rebuild war-torn areas
No,
and
I didn't know
provide
that.
shelter and
That's cool.
food and homes for fucking people to an extent, you know what I'm saying? And that's something that transcends music and I had never heard of any MC doing anything like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? At the time or even up till now really, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's something that really made me go, damn, like I need to uh I need to constantly be giving back to the people in
Right.
one form or another. You know what I mean? Word.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely taking it to a different level, man.
Indeed. But
So, oh, go ahead, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, but as far as influences go though, undoubtedly Nas was a heavy, heavy influence on my pen. As far as prose and poetry, undoubtedly Nas, super heavy. Um, Big Pun, I would say is probably the most influential artist on my life. You know what I
Right.
mean? For a myriad of reasons. And another artist, Wu-Tang, undoubtedly. You know what I mean? Like Wu-Tang is, in my opinion, the greatest group of all time.
I agree for sure.
And I would say one of the people who inspired my style, influenced me, that people might not pick up from the way that I deliver my words and my prose, but undoubtedly Half a Mil, may he rest in peace, is I just, and to this day I think Half a Mil, had he gotten the chance, you know what I mean, to put more music out and to continue to grow and evolve, would probably be the greatest rapper of all time.
Mm. I don't think I tapped into his music too much, man. So it might be a takeaway for me.
Rest in peace, Half
Um,
a Mil, man. Light
so
years ahead of his time.
your first MC name was Era, spelled 3RAH. I tried looking for those first two projects of yours, Aeronomics, Aerolution, but I couldn't find them. Can they be found anywhere, or is that like hidden away on
They
your hard
were they
drive?
were available online for a long time, and
Okay.
I think they're down there. They were on datpiff.com for mad long.
Okay. Okay.
You know what I mean? I don't think they're there no more.
So you wrote the process of creating those projects changed your life forever. So what was it like working on those? It's always a big deal. Your first two, you're stockpiling material and thoughts for your whole life, and then so what was that process like?
Yeah, so the first one I wrote, Aeronomics. I wrote that album and wrote and recorded that album as soon as I came home from prison, from a long stretch, about almost 6 years in prison. I came home and I made that project, and I didn't have access too much at the time. I bought uh, a Pro Tool setup and a microphone and whatever I needed to record myself,
Right,
and I began recording. I didn't have access to beats at all, so I had to work with what I had. And at the same time, I was figuring out, I was trying a lot of different things at that time because I had so much in me. I had so many different styles and approaches in me. You know what I
right.
mean? That I was throwing a lot of shit at the wall back then. Um, and I also had a lot of shit that I wanted to get off my chest. So I feel like those were very experimental albums. The second one, I wound up getting locked up again and going back to prison shortly after my release. And then
Was there was a break in your music, if I'm not mistaken, from like 2015 to like 2020 or something,
nah, not from
or no, no. Okay,
2015 to
uh,
2020. The thing is, a lot of projects got re-uploaded to Spotify and
okay, got yeah, yeah, yeah,
distributed through
yeah,
streaming
yeah.
service and all that. So a lot of the dates are off. You know
Right,
what
right,
I mean?
right.
But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right, but from 2008, I would say, to about 2010. You know what I mean?
Got it.
I got locked up again. I was away again. And then when I came home, we did Opposition. We then Welcome to Hell's Gate was next, and then Fuck the Radio, which is what I would say is, if I had to say, I would say Fuck the Radio was my first real solo project,
Okay, that's one of my favorite ones. Yeah, yeah,
no doubt.
yeah. So I guess you were hooked after those first two projects. It sort of you got infatuated, for lack of a better word, with the shit, I guess.
Yeah, with the whole process of recording and actually putting music out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it was an exciting time for sure, man. I'm
Yeah.
sure it was for a lot of people during those years as well. With the advent of social media and YouTube was so strong at that time.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And a lot of us were just realizing that we could actually do this on our own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the spirit of independence was thorough at that time, extremely
Yeah,
thorough.
man.
You know.
So I know the name Spit Gems carries meaning to you. Can you let us know the genesis of the name and what it stands for?
Indeed, man. So once again, it was a situation where I wanted to take something that was undoubtedly negative, you know what I mean, and turn it into something positive. So that name came about literally me sitting in a cell in the box, a jail within a jail, um, and just thinking about how I had gotten myself in trouble again. You know what I mean? People know my story. You know what I mean? Somebody I had a problem with somebody, and they sucker punch me, snuck attack me in a bar lounge type of venue. You know what I'm saying? And I reacted in a in a way where I used a razor, you know what I mean? And that got me locked up. You know what I'm saying? This person wound up testifying against me, doing everything within his power to try to get me sent away for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Through the glory of God and fucking thinking quick on my feet, I was able to get a dope lawyer. You know what I mean? And really, uh,
Wow.
not get sent away forever for this situation. You know what I'm saying? And but I still got locked up for 2 years behind it. You know what I mean? And it was during that time where I was saying, you know what? I have to reinvent my energy completely. You know what I'm saying? So in New York, a gem is a razor. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I wanted to take that, you know what I'm saying? And it's something I've practiced, you know what I mean, throughout my life is how to keep a razor, an actual razor blade in my mouth, spit it out, you know what I'm saying? Conceal it, you know what I mean? And I wanted to take all of that energy and it's a perfect double entendre, it's a perfect double meaning, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? To be able to spit a gem, to take the negative and the violence, you know what I'm saying? And then the other side of that is the learning curve, me taking my situation and maybe possibly preventing you from a situation, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. Right.
Well,
Speaking of that, I imagine you get like messages from people that you've helped. I would think, man. I think I see the way people respond to your music. Is there any like inspiring messages you've received from people, man, just based on your music?
thousands, man. Over the years,
Thousands.
like it's been crazy how many people I've actually made real connections with, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
through the music and because of the music, you know what I mean, and people just reaching out, you know what I mean. I've made a lot of good friends, man, and there's a lot of people I respect, and I tried my absolute best to give my insight or my guidance on any topic, and in return they've done the same for me. You know what I'm saying?
That's
So yeah,
yeah. There
indeed. The music is so
there
powerful in that sense with this technology, you know what I mean? To be
yeah.
able, I know a lot of people have an extreme ego, you know what I mean? And they don't like to engage in that way. I'm the complete opposite, you know what I mean? I'll engage fully, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, man. That's there's not much better feeling you can get from music than something like that, man. I
Indeed.
think. So your label or crew is called Broken Home. What does that name represent to you, and who does it consist of?
Yeah, so over the years, the roster has inflated and deflated, and you know what I'm saying? It's expanded and it's shrunk over
Yeah,
time, you know what I mean? But I'll give respect and credit to everybody who's ever been a part of it. You know what I'm saying? And in many ways, they'll forever be a part of it because Broken Home originally started off as a group of very, very tight knit, close friends that existed without rap and before rap. Before there was a
right,
Spit Gems, before there was a 3RAH, Broken Home was my childhood friends. You know what I'm saying?
right.
The the person that coined that term for us to be called that because we had different names for our crew at the time,
Yeah,
and went through different things because we started with graffiti, neighborhood shit. You know what I mean? CYC, Crazy Young Criminals. DTK Down to Kill at one time. Even though there was another DTK as well, long before us in the '80s. Um, and then 3OP, Third Optical, which is what I had come up with because I was always into this concept of tapping into a triple vision, you know what I mean? A sight beyond sight, even from a real young age. Um, but the person who coined that term, Broken Home, I was in kindergarten with this person. You know what I'm saying? Like
right,
my boy Ernesto Hernandez, you know what I mean, who used to go by Sub MA, Mission Accomplished. And he was actually the first one to start rapping out of all of us. Before any of us were rapping, he was.
right.
Um, and he came with that, Broken Home. And that was based on much of that name making sense for us. A lot of that comes from my actual life.
Right,
You know what I mean? Like, if anybody was from a broken home, it was me. You know what I'm saying?
right, right, right.
And that's why I took to it so fast and held it and adored it and cherished it and bring it to what it is now. You know what I'm saying? Because it meant so much to me. You know what I mean? To be able to use something like that to get these expressions out is just
Y-
is
y-
perfect. I mean,
Usually, when you start a crew, you want to think you're bringing something, some different angle to the game. Was there a certain angle you guys were aiming to bring to the game, or thinking of bringing to the game that separated you guys?
we always wanted to have an effect on people mentally. You know what I mean? Always wanted to uplift, to make an impact that was substantial. And that's because of the tutors and the mentors we had and the examples that were made for us. The people that we I wouldn't say modeled ourselves after. In some ways modeled ourselves after, but just who inspired us the most. You know what I mean? And those are people like the Jizza, you know what I mean? Nas,
Right,
um, you know, uh, people along those lines, you know what I'm saying? That just came with a profound sense of poetry that actually had a substance to it that was undeniable, that came from real life. Your real life experiences turned into poetry. You know what I mean? That was always what it was about for us.
got it, man. So crazy thing I realized is I looked through you made a post about everyone you've collabed with, right? And when I saw Action Bronson, I used to be a huge Action Bronson fan in the 2010s, and I realized that I think the first time I might have heard you rap was on his project The Program, the from 2011. The track is called Mystic Moves, featuring Shazil, York, yourself, Timeless Truth. It almost sounded like a posse cut. I know he's also from Astoria, if I recall correctly. Is there any backstory on how that came together, or that was just like a random
Yeah,
happening?
yeah. So
Like,
that was I believe I could be wrong, man. I don't want to fuck this up, man. But I believe that Tommy Moss did that beat, right? And that was one of Action's early producers, one of his
right?
first
I remember
producers,
the name. Yeah, yeah,
Tommy Moss. And he had a crib in Manhattan, somewhere in Midtown, I believe it was. And Shaz had a group of beats from him at the time. Me and
yeah.
Shaz were working on the Opposition album, or what would become the Opposition album
Right,
shortly after. You know what I mean? And I don't know if you're aware of this, but Shaz's father, may he rest in peace, Roscoe. Shaz's father and my father also grew up together.
no, I don't know that much about that. So
Yeah,
that's
no, that's just
interesting.
that's
Yeah, yeah,
that's that's
yeah.
the fact, man. It's just it's one of those just insane things. Um, Long before we existed, they knew each other. You know what I mean?
Right,
And Shaz's father and his mom used to hang out with my father and my mother. And then
right,
they both got pregnant and then had me and Shaz, but we never
right,
were really around each other as kids. Um, so when we found that out, you know what I mean, we started like making music rapidly with a strong sense of passion, man, and purpose, because it seemed like it was meant to be. You know what I mean? Like we were supposed to create music together.
right.
And at the time, Shaz had a group, a folder of beats from Tommy Moss, I believe, and that particular beat I fell in love with. You know what I mean? So
Right.
the first verse that was ever on that beat was mine. You know what I mean? That
Got
was
it.
just something I wrote that one immediately. I wanted the beat for myself, to be honest.
Right.
Um, and then the cut that you hear on there, astral projection. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
something that I also found too. You know what I mean? And I threw on the beat. You know what I mean? To
Right.
go with my verse, to intro my verse and shit. And Tommy Moss was like, "Yo, this shit is dope. Come to the crib and record it." So we went to his crib. I recorded my part. Shaz recorded his part. That was gonna be the song. But
Right.
then I'm not exactly sure how Timeless Truth got on it, but I know obviously Tommy Moss played it for Bronson, and Bronson was like, "Yo, I'm jumping on this." You know what I'm saying?
Right. 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 Right.
And that was it. You know what I mean?
Got it, man. I noticed Shazil York on your 2011 project Welcome to Hell's Gate a lot, right? Mayhem Loran, and I was guessing maybe that was some sort of a movement in Astoria, Queens. I don't know, right? I didn't understand all that much back then. Can you let us know what was brewing over there? I'm seeing names like J Love, who I know produced for Bronson, The Outdoorsman. I think Bronson Mayhem were part of that. I'm not fully versed on all of it, but was there something brewing there at the time?
Yes.
Or
The Outdoorsman is that was J Love's clique. You know what I mean?
okay,
And consisted of I believe J Love, um, Mayhem Loran, Action Bronson, Jay Steele, which is Mayhem Loren's brother. um, Hologram, you know what I mean, and AT the Coroner, and maybe Science, a few other people, a number of people in one click, you know what I mean, and because Shaz had, I'm not sure if Shaz was ever like outdoorsman, like a member of
Okay.
outdoorsman, but he
Right.
had, Shaz grew up with Action Bronson, you know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
they had
Right.
a strong connection, you know what I'm saying? And we started doing music together pretty early as well, you know what I mean? So by extension, you know what I mean, what me and Shaz had going on, I was building out of a studio in Queens called Goblin Music, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Goblin MC, who was essentially, a member of the Beatnuts, the youngest member of the Beatnuts, essentially, um, was beginning to build a studio, and
Right.
the first person he called was me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To join in on this, and I know Goblin from prison. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So this is all in the same area of Queens, basically. You
Right.
know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Right.
That's how all these connections come into play. So once I started putting in a lot of work and time into Goblin Music, that studio, and building, I had my own room over there. You know what I mean? Which was went by different names at times. One of them was the Ill Spot, and it was next door to what Goblin was doing. Same building. Goblin basically was renting the whole building out, and then we were renting one room from Goblin. You know what I mean? It was all
Right.
studio shit though, so it was all music 24/7. And eventually it all merged together, and I just started inviting people, everybody I would come across, to Goblins. You know what I'm saying? I just started bringing people, everybody, Starving
Right.
B. You know, I brought Sean Price there. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like Shazil York, just started like, let's build, let's get this shit cracking. You know what I'm saying? And through those endeavors, there was a lot of overlap. You know what I mean? So that's
Right.
how all of that came to fruition, and why you see repeating names on the album and all that. We were all kind of meshing at that time. You know what I mean? Which
Yeah.
I like to look at as like the second golden era in hip hop. That time. You know what I mean?
Right. 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 What do you being in proximity to Bronson? What do you think of his journey, man? Like
Amazing. Absolutely
crazy,
incredible,
right?
man.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. From going from somebody who picked up this hobby or habit of rhyming, from turning a negative. There was
Yeah.
an injury. I don't know if you know much of his story. There was
Yeah.
an
That I know
injury,
about. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and he went from, with downtime, idle hands, into just writing rhymes, and then realizing that he had a knack for it, and then to becoming, like a worldwide talent and a personality, a fucking TV personality.
It's
Just,
crazy.
what I mean, he fulfilled his destiny. He's exactly who he was supposed to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
it's
man.
amazing
That's a
to
good
see.
way of putting it. That's a good way of putting it,
I got
man.
nothing but love and respect for Bronson, man. Bronson has looked out in multiple ways. You know what I mean?
Amazing, man. So, if I got it correctly, you did mention it. You really started taking music seriously around 2008-ish. Is that right? About is that what you're
Yeah, yeah.
saying?
2000, I would say, 2008 was Evolution, was the
Okay.
second, yeah,
So,
the second album I put out under the name 3RAH. About 2000, late 2009, I guess. Like I said, it's a little blurry those years for me, man. But I would say, seriously, I would say Welcome to Hell's Gate around then. Welcome to Hell's Gate, fuck the radio, within that area, man. Maybe
got it.
2012 will probably be a better year, to, if I'm being honest. Like,
So my point being, so I remember that time as a pretty good time for lyricism. It was pretty damn good. You had like Sky Zoo, emerging terminology, Joel Ortiz, Rock Marciano, Sean Price making noise, J. Cole, Kendrick Drake, of course, on the incline on the mainstream side. How would you describe that era in hip hop when you entered the scene and your mindset when you entered it?
I mean, yo, I had blinders on in a lot of ways, you know what I'm saying? Because I had amassed so much material, you know what I mean? Like, my passion for this shit, for the art form of rhyming in particular, you know what I
Yeah,
mean, is undying, man. It's immense, you know what I mean? And my, my goal was always to show and prove, was always to just prove that I had a certain level of skill, you know what I mean? And that I had something profound and substantial to say. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that was constantly my motivation, and that was what drove me and pushed me. You know what I'm saying? I wanted the respect of the people that I grew up respecting. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. I mean, you've been doing this for a minute. How would you compare that time to today, man? Or is
I
it all a
feel
blur? Is it all a blur for
no,
you
no. I
at
would
this?
one thing that I'll say is I feel like there's in there is a great oversaturation at this current moment that we're in right now.
Absolutely, man.
There's so many people doing this for the wrong reasons, and with a lack of passion, with a lack of authenticity, and a lack of understanding of what came before them. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
almost like that element of it is eroding. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
because of this social media, when it's overcooked, and it is overcooked at this point,
yeah,
it's creating an unwarranted self-image for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
they're so immersed in their own shit that they don't have a respect for what came before them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Or they don't really know why they're doing this because there is no why. They just want the clout. They want
yeah.
dopamine. You know what I mean?
It's a look.
They want to be looked at.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
Instead of being effect, having an effect because that's something that's truly inside them. You know what I mean?
That's why with when I started running this platform, I can't stay on top of all the music that's being put out.
Imagine.
I focus on like two, three artists at a time. It's kind of a throwback. And as you see with your music, I just go all in. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way I can stay sane
No
at
doubt.
where I'm at in life these days. So I do feel it's oversaturated for sure, man. Um, you made a post about all the artists you've gone to work with so far. Uh, some highlights: Vinny Paz, Cool G Rap, Razcast, Sean Price, Ill Bill, Ito, etc. We could go on. Is there one or two clear moments that stands out above them all? You know what I mean, milestone wise.
That Ito joint, I'm still waiting for that Ito joint to come out.
Okay, okay.
I
He's
had
dropping a new album. Is it on it or
I'm not sure what album it's on.
okay,
I only know, the producer, and I don't even know if he wants me to blow that up, you know what I mean, and put it
okay,
out there.
okay.
You
All
know what I
right.
mean? It might be on
Yeah.
the producer's album, but I had projected that to be out a lot sooner, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Shout
yeah.
out to Ito though. But yeah, the out of those names you named, man, I mean, it's Sean Price and Cool G Rap being able to have created music with these people is it's a fulfilling of a dream. You know what I mean? Like this is
Yeah.
a dream coming true in its purest form. You know what I mean? Because um G Rap is one of my favorite MCs of all time, and also ridiculously influential on my pen for sure. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I think just you know influential on New York hip hop, period. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of these MCs don't even know that they're influenced by Cool G Rap
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're not
Yeah.
familiar with Cool G Rap, but their favorite MC is a student of Cool G Rap.
Yeah.
So, by proxy,
Jadakiss Fabulous or someone like that. I feels like you know what I mean? Uh,
just an absolute godfather to so many styles that came out of
yeah.
New York City, man. It's like it's unavoidable. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Sean Price, man, from Fab Five and Helter Skelter, man, to his own solo career and body of work. You know what I'm saying? Just that shit that I grew up on, literally. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like some of my favorite songs and moments of all time. To be able to have built a relationship with him, because we spent quite a bit of time together in the studio. You know what I'm saying? Um, and obviously I always wanted to work with him, but it was something that I never pushed, right? Like I never was like I was, being cool about it. I wasn't like, yo, let's do a song. You know what I'm saying? Like it was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to gain his respect, and I did.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And when he made that clear to me, it was something like he bring that to fruition. Like one day, just in the studio, like yo, Gemz, we gotta do a song. You know what I'm saying? Like
Wow.
you dumb nice, son. Like you know what I mean? And to me, that's the payback for all the years, all the nights of breaking my brain and writing and putting my all into this shit is to get it
Yeah.
back from somebody like that,
Uh,
man. In the form, that kind of compliment is more valuable than anything to me.
uh,
You know what I'm
and
saying?
and you killed that verse, man. You killed that verse.
I appreciate it, man. Me and Sean actually did two songs together, and one of them, you know what I mean? I won't even say why it didn't come out. It's unfortunate why it didn't come out, but something was mishandled. The files were mishandled and the verse was removed actually. You know what I mean? My
Right,
verse was removed and it wound up on a song that I did called Black Book of the Dead. Um and that verse on Black Book of the Dead is actually a verse that I did with Sean Price and he fucking loved that verse. You know what I mean? Like I
crazy.
wish it would have came out in its original form, man.
I'm gonna have to circle back on that one. I'm just gonna
But
shout out people in the live. We got Show Off NYC, J Roberts, Melton Line Training. I see all the comments, but we got a lot to talk about, so I'm just gonna keep moving forward, bud. Thank you for tapping in, everyone. So how do you define success as an artist these days? Like, has that definition changed to you over the years?
I don't think it has. For me, and I touched on this a little bit, but for me, from the very beginning, what I wanted out of this, they say whatever you put your mind to, you can achieve, right? And I believe that to be true. And what I always wanted out of this, what I always wanted was to be recognized as somebody who had a skill level that was on par with the people who I thought were the most skilled.
Right,
And I've accomplished that. You know what I mean? In spades. And I feel like to me that's my success. You know what I'm saying? Um the second part of it, or that could be the first part, but one did precede the other. Um I would say is for my daughter, who is also an artist who loves writing and is a fucking ridiculous painter.
mm,
Just a super intelligent young person, man. For my daughter, the recognition from her for my artistry
yeah.
is it's priceless. You know what I'm saying? Like to hear her talk to me about my music and things that I've said, and you know what I'm saying is because she's a crazy fan and she's all into the culture, and you know what
That
I mean. She
that's dope,
likes
man.
vinyl, and you know what I mean. Like
It's dope that she appreciates your style because when I play my old recordings, like even from like 5 to 10 years ago, my kids are like, turn this shit off. Then, but it's dope that she fucks with your style of music. You know what I mean?
yeah, no,
So
to get praise and props from her, man, and to be able to have conversations with her and her telling me how I've inspired her through my craft. That I
yeah,
mean, there's not too many mountains higher than that, you know.
that that's dope, man. So you have at least one track with Chino Excel. I peeped that track. I peeped that whole album. By the way, I saw you make a post. You have like action figures, you and Cheeto, like
Yeah.
in a package or something. Is that a real thing, or is that
No, no,
just
no. That
like
somebody
okay,
made that mock up for
okay,
me. You know what I mean? And I used it. I used it to promote the song that me and Chino had together.
got it, man.
I
And
wish it was
rest in.
real, man. I would love for somebody to bring that to life.
It would have made sense, you know what I mean? I'm like, this makes sense, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
what was your relationship with Chino? And yeah, that track was from your 2020 project, I believe, the God who forgot himself. It's called Heaven's Dungeon. If you want to check it out, he went crazy on that one, man. Um, how did
love it.
that come together, and what do you think of Chino as an all-time lyricist?
I think the highest of them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, obviously Chino is somebody who has never been outdone on a track. You know what I mean? Like no one has ever outdone Chino on a track. That's just my humble opinion. You know what I'm saying? So that in itself speaks volumes and volumes about what caliber of MC and poet he was. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Chino was a grand inspiration to me since I was young. You know what I mean? You know, from Poison Pen and like I remember like a peak moment. Remember the song, the anthem by
yeah, of course. I
Playing
think
Tech
that's
DJ
where I
Revolution.
learned
You know
about
what I
him. I
mean?
was kind of late. Yeah, but yeah,
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 Chino makes the world go round, and then
yeah,
seeing him in the video and his contribution on that track was one of those moments where I was just it's like a holy shit moment. Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? It pushed me so hard to wanna push my pen further. Like it let me know that a lot of these guys were like mere mortals compared to what he was doing, to the depths that he was going to with his writing.
Yeah.
Um, Years later, to have been able to to meet him and build on a track with him. The first track that we did together is a song called Heaven's Dungeon. Um, and unfortunately, that song, I think it's still online. It's still online through, because it's on Spotify still. It's on my album, but it was on before it was even in that format. It was on my YouTube, and it got taken down by, I'm not gonna say her name, but you know what I mean. When Chino passed, there was a lot of bullshit
Yeah.
surrounding
Yeah.
music
Yeah.
and rights and all this, and like these fucking vultures, man. They went and they got a song removed, a song that was fucking over 10 years old, and had been up there for 10 years already. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
they had that removed. It makes no sense how they were able to do that, but it did happen, and yeah. But that song was just. There was a time when I was working on an album with Stu Bangers, right? The Master of the Universe, the album that never was. You know what I mean? Like we tried and we tried to make this album happen, and it just never came to fruition. But a lot of the songs did wind up
With
coming out.
Chino, with Chino, with Chino.
Well, here's the thing, that was on the table.
Right. Right.
That was on the table for it to be a joint project with me and Chino. But it started off as a project with just me and Stu Bangers. And while I was working on that album, I just hit Chino up, like literally like taking a shot in the dark, man. Like no prior contact, nothing. I just hit Chino up on Twitter, I believe it was, and told him what I thought of him. You know what I mean? And said, "Yo, man, it would be amazing to work with you." You know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean? To my disbelief, and you know what I mean? He hollered back and was like, "Yo, you're fucking nasty, bro. Like, you know what I mean? I fuck with it. Like, let's do it." So I sent them Heaven's Dungeon, which is, was my first attempt, my first thoroughbred attempt at writing, I guess what you could say, a dissection of organized religion. That's what that song is. It's me
Right.
dissecting the contradictions in religion. You know what I'm saying? And and he answered back with just a fucking
It was insane.
monstrous verse,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just gave it to me. And then after that, like him listening to the song, me listening to the song, he it was his idea, like, yo, we should do a project together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it also was based around working with Stu Bangers. What happened with me and Stu Bangers at that time was that we couldn't agree on the beats. There were beats that I was selecting. I would select a beat, and then the next week you would be like, yo, actually, I gotta take that beat back. And the the truth of the matter is I was losing out to like Ill Bill and Vinny
Okay.
Paz. Like they
Right.
were
Right. Right.
taking
Right. Right. Right.
precedent over me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Of course,
Yeah.
obviously, these guys are worldwide known at the time. I'm on the come up, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, a lot of the strongest beats, man, that I was selecting from Stu wound up getting snatched back. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
um I was real, I wasn't happy about that at the time at all, obviously. You know what I mean? It felt horrible. You know what I mean? But as I got older and I look back, I understand it completely. You know what I mean? From Stu's standpoint, I understand it. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Right.
And that's
So
kind of how it all fell apart with me and Stu Bangers. You know what I mean? At that time.
got it. Got it. Got it, man.
Yeah.
So I see you got quite a lot of work with Nems, the mayor of Coney Island. Is he
Yeah.
part of your crew? Or, like, what's the history with you and Nems?
Yeah. Well, Nems is undoubtedly broken home. The same way I'm undoubtedly FYL, fuck your life. You know what I mean? Like those are
Right.
two interchangeable things. You know what I mean?
Got
That's
it.
my
Got it.
bro, man. You know what I mean? We've fucking bumped heads once or twice, but that's my fucking dude. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know what I mean? He reps broken home. I rep fuck your life. That's forever, man. That's the homie, man. You know what I mean? And I would undoubtedly I would include him in that long roster of broken home MCs. You know what I'm saying?
Got it.
For
Got
sure.
it. What do you think of his rise over the last 5 years or so? And just it seems like he's succeeding in the industry from what I see. You know what I mean? What do you think of his sort of journey?
I think it's amazing, man.
Artists like him, you know what I mean?
Super inspiring, you know what I'm saying? To see your homeboy take it to this level and to see somebody you've worked with so closely do everything they say they're gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Like to basically predict his destiny. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
for sure, man.
And if you guys haven't, again, if you're new, go peep their back and forth rapping track 200. I think that's one of your highest view tracks from what I've seen. Super
Yeah.
tight, man, and they did it properly. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Um, so to this point, which album do you consider to be your Illmatic and why? Do you think of it like that?
Yeah, well, those are big shoes to fill, right?
Yeah.
To even try to compare anything I've done to an Illmatic.
I mean for you, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
For
right. No, I get what you mean, though. I guess it's kind of difficult because it wouldn't be my first one, right? So it wouldn't, in
uh,
that sense, it wouldn't be my Illmatic. But I would say that my most substantial project, man, and maybe this makes sense because it's one of my shortest projects, and Illmatic is a short project. Would probably be Homeschool. I'm extremely proud of that body of work. You know what I mean?
right, right,
Yeah,
right.
the
Yeah,
songs, the content, the substance of the album, what the album represented as a whole, and where I was at that time in my life, and what was going on in the world at that time. I felt like, and you know, I still feel this way. I was one of the very few people to step up and speak so unabashedly truthful at that time, and
right.
to be so rebellious at that time. I felt like a lot of people went radio silence at that time, and you know that is part of like that is part of when you see some of these posts or some of these thought pieces I put out. It's a lot of it stems from that time too. To have
What year
watched
was that one again?
2021, I believe. You know what
Okay,
I mean? Right
okay.
around the
Yeah.
pandemic and
Yeah, yeah,
all the
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
bullshit,
Yeah,
you know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
And all
yeah,
the when political pandering was fucking extremely high and people
yeah.
were just kind of like, I feel like bending over for the government at that
Absolutely.
time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like what I was representing on that album, and the fact that I took up the mantle of speaking for the people in the way that I did, you know what I mean, is I'm proud of myself, you know what I'm saying, for doing that. And I know
Yeah.
I believe in my heart, you know what I mean, that God is proud of me, you know what I'm saying,
No,
and
not
that's
everyone can take that kind of heat too, you know what I'm saying? So
doubt.
so kudos to you. How is what is your writing process to making music? Do you use a pen or no pen or
I
you
still
know?
use a pen. I still use a pen. Yeah, no, I still got stacks and stacks of rhyme books. Um, I used to for a very much of what I do is off memory, right? So I write in my head, you know what I mean? And a lot
Right,
of times what I'm writing down is a word or one line or just two words that I have a lot of material behind them and it hasn't completely formulated
right.
itself yet. But you know, like just so I don't forget it, a lot of times that's what I'll write down is one or two lines. But there are times when I sit down and I write around from beginning to end, you know what I mean, on paper. But a lot of what I do is done mentally, and I that is a big reason why the flow is the way that it is. Why it's so I feel why it's so sound and it comes out so naturally in sync. You know what I mean? Is because I'm 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 saying the same line over, you know what I mean, sometimes 1,000 times before I get it the way I want it to be. As
Yeah.
opposed to, you know, a lot of MCs just write, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
try to
yeah.
formulate the rhythm of it, you know what I mean, while they're
You're
reading it.
you're figuring that out more in your head before you commit it to paper,
Yeah,
is
because it's
what
just
you're
as
saying.
important to me that it lands with a
Right.
certain precision.
Yeah.
That's just as important as what I'm saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Yeah. And what made you decide to start producing? Where do you rank your skill set as a producer, bud?
I would rank my skill set as a grasshopper still. You know what I'm saying? I'm young at this still, man. I've been producing now going on 2 years, I believe it is. I don't even think I've made 2 years yet. Um, but I will say that there's things that I've done going back years and years, even to the very beginning of my recording saga, where I was adding on. I would add an instrument or add a sample in other people's beats that existed already. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was doing a lot of arranging and um things like that. But I was never hands on. I hadn't mastered any hardware yet, or got on the pads yet, or really learned how to manipulate samples the way I do now. I could play my own. I can make my own samples now. I can, what I mean. So I've definitely come an extremely long way.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
this shit. You know what I mean?
I
But
sucked and got frustrated when I tried. So the fact that you've picked it up at this point and you're progressing, that's dope. You know what I mean?
no doubt,
Um, have you hit the road with your music at all yet? Like, have you had that opportunity?
I've been
Or
offered the opportunity to tour numerous times. You know what I mean? I've never been able to make it happen though. Sometimes because I felt like I wasn't ready,
right?
um, and other times because it didn't seem right. The situation wasn't right. But I will say this: it's extreme. The kind of person that I am, I'm super family oriented. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
orientated. So like it is very difficult for me to leave my wife and my daughter. To be away
Yeah.
from them for any length of time is
Yeah.
extremely uh detrimental to my fucking soul, man.
It's a high cost for you to
Yeah, it's a
pay.
high
Yeah.
cost, man. It's a high cost. And
Yeah.
I turned down a lot of shit because of that. You know what I mean? I don't like to be away from them. And I have a grand fear of missing out on moments, and obviously because I've missed out on a lot of moments in my life.
Right. Right.
I was forced to miss out, and I consider myself, the grand protector of my family. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's very difficult for me to leave them on their own. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's good to know where you stand on things. It makes your decisions easier, I think, right?
Indeed.
Um, so by the way, how are you doing for time? I still got a lot to talk about. I don't know
We're
if you're
good. No,
good
we're
though.
good.
You're good? You're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I watched one of your pods. It was a solo episode. You were explaining the evolution of your music, the duality of it. Again, I really was looking forward to this interview because I know how much you get into this craft and how it's tied to your life. So you mentioned that your music either points to the darkness or to the light. And when you pointed it more to the light, things were going better for you. When you pointed more towards the darkness, it went in the other direction.
Sure.
How long did it take you to really identify this pattern? Me personally, I don't have the same backstory as you, but I stopped making music because I didn't like the energy I was putting out. I had to step back personally. So I relate to what you're saying. Uh, I think it's an astute observation, and it doesn't happen overnight. So how long did it take you to realize this?
Years, undoubtedly, from when I started putting music out. It took years and years to really understand the correlation to the extent that I understand it now. And
Yeah,
also, while I'm going through the turmoil of receiving the energy, the boomerang energy coming back to me, even unbeknownst to me why certain things are coming back to me in the manner that they are, you know, it's like you don't want to admit it almost. You know what I mean? It's almost like there's a cognitive dissonance there. You know what I mean? As an
yeah,
artist, like you don't want to
yeah,
admit or take responsibility for what you're doing. But everything in nature is sound. You know what I'm saying? Sound is responsible for all creation. You know what I mean?
right,
And when you really begin to get into it like that on a mystical spiritual level, and you start to think about the beginning of life itself, even most religious and mystical texts will tell you that. You know what I'm saying?
right,
That this is all sound based. You know what I'm saying? It's all frequency based. So learning those things and getting deeper into those studies, as well as analyzing my own music at times of despair. You know what I mean? Um, and being honest about my behaviors and the allure of the dark side of the music. You know what I mean?
right,
This energy, and this is something I've struggled with too, this aspect in particular, that as I've released music, the fan base, the audience, I noticed that a lot of doors would open up a lot more doors would open up when I was being negative, when I'm giving them the
Okay.
violent side, when I'm going strictly in that direction. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like we just mentioned earlier, 200 is probably my most viewed song of all time.
Right.
And
Right.
this is a dark expression. You know what I'm saying? This is a and listen, man, I love the song 200. I'm extremely proud of what me and Nems created with that jam. And what I'm most proud of about that song is the skill. Not necessarily what I'm saying and what we're saying, but the skill that we displayed with being able to juggle these lines
The
back and forth
timing, the
and
timing.
show the
Yeah.
synergy
Yeah.
and the timing. That's
Right.
that's what I'm most proud of when it comes to that song. But it's unfortunate that that is my most viewed song, right?
Right.
And then a song like Invisible Leashes, which is fucking mountains above 200 as far as artistic expressions and substance,
Yeah.
is people shun away from that. Like that turns people off. A lot of people because they're like, nah, come on, Gems. I want to hear you fucking kill somebody, bro. I want to hear you cut shit up, and you know what I
Yeah.
mean. I want this kind of this dark energy to come out, and it's like, damn, this is probably like one of the greatest verses I've ever written, the most substantial. You know what I mean? It's got the most.
Yeah.
This is the most beneficial shit that I've done thus far. Maybe you know what I mean? And in comparison, it doesn't. You know, it's not there in the numbers. You know what I'm
That
saying?
might be one of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I cut
No,
you
no.
off. Go ahead.
I'm just saying the numbers are not there in comparison. You know, because I feel like more people react to the negative. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I that's possibly because that's how the industry is designed
Yeah.
from the inside out and from the outside in. Um, and that's what the powers that be ultimately want. You know what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
want more of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the algorithms are also designed
But do you
to,
think
to
people
stop
want it?
artists from making more of what they want to make.
I agree what you're saying, but do you think it's also people? That's what people want. People want the action movie too. Do you think it's both?
I think it's yeah, no, it's both, they both correlate and overlap because the people want more of that because that's how their minds have been conditioned
Yeah.
by the powers that be. You know what I'm saying? So there's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
escaping this. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Speaking of your pod, do you ever feel a conflict of interest being an artist and running a pod? I've concluded, like I'm done being an artist. I'm good. I can't. I don't think it works because I'm here trying to bring the best out of artists. When if I'm writing, I should be focusing on bringing the best out of myself. But how do you feel about that equation of being a podcaster and the artist? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, no, I totally understand the premise of the question and where it's coming from. And it makes sense to me that for some people that doesn't seem to work. You know what I mean? For
Yeah.
me, I feel like because I'm such an authentic artist and
Right.
I'm very comfortable with who I am, and also because I have a real history, you know what I mean? Like, people know me from real life, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
there's a certain authenticity there where the respect will be there whether I'm rhyming or not, you know what I mean? But one
Yeah.
thing I've noticed is that most of the MCs, if not all of them, who I've done an interview with, have told me, yo, this is like the dopest interview I've ever done. Because they feel a different kind of comfort and confidence in chopping it up with somebody who's also an MC of a certain caliber. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Makes sense.
So I appreciated that when I got that energy back from most of the cats that I've done those interviews with. But I also, as far as time, as far as time management and energy management,
Yeah. Yeah.
certainly a problem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
certainly a problem, and that's why I had to slow down on the jewel exchange for a minute to get back in my pocket of putting the music first and stop
Right.
popping songs and these albums. You know what I mean?
I actually sacrificed MMA watching to do this, which was a big
Yeah,
sacrifice for me, man.
yeah,
So I understand that, man.
indeed.
You mentioned in a post that music really does penetrate people's subconscious and influence their actions. To quote you, these are your words. It can make young women and men behave like degenerates. What did it take for you to really be able to see that? And what do you say to people that are on the other side of the fence regarding that, that think music is just entertainment?
I think
That's
that
a
they
good, if
are.
it's a good question.
I think that if that's your stance, that music is just entertainment, then I don't think they understand how influence works, how the brain and the spirit are influenced by anything that it receives. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be music or movies or people that you're around or any form of media or energy that you receive, it's gonna have a certain influence on the way you think and the way you behave. And you know what I mean? Now the difference with music, right, is that what makes music so overly influential and so powerful in that sense is because it's a syncopated frequency. You know what I mean? You're memorizing words and expressions and ideas to a rhythm. And you know, our whole body works off of rhythm. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
your
yeah,
heartbeat, you know what I'm saying? Your fucking beta and gamma waves, you know what I'm saying? Have a frequency and rhythm to them. So so this is ingrained in your being, whether you like it or not. Music. Why do you think music is the number one form of advertising? You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah,
music has been used as a weapon sonically in so many applications. You know what I'm saying? Um, so yeah, when you got especially young, you know, to hone in on that part of the statement, young men and young women who are, you know, the younger you are, the more impressionable you are because you haven't, you know, had a chance to really form a concrete opinion of yourself or the world yet, really, because that comes with time and experience.
yeah.
So for young men and women, for example, to be hearing something like Molly, Percocet, you know, you take a fucking kid who's never heard of these substances before
Yeah,
and
yeah.
never witnessed anybody fetishize them or fucking glorify them or glorify the usage of them. And then also with the, you know, now the rhythm is intriguing and alluring, right? So it makes you want to
Visuals.
repeat it
Yeah,
and
yeah,
get into it. And then also the imagery is alluring and appealing. You know what I'm saying? So all of that combined is that's a fucking weapon. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
that's a weapon against the youth.
I personally agree with you, like on a personal level, from my experience with music and just observations over the decades. You know what I'm saying? So I'm with you on
No
on
doubt.
on that one. You made another post a while ago about MCs that lose their rebellious spirit. As soon as you succumb to these political agendas and political bullshit, you're no longer that. You're no longer an MC. So, what do you call these other MCs just making hip hop maybe to entertain, fit in, or just tell their story without tackling bigger subjects? How do you label these MCs today?
It's difficult to say, you know what I mean? Because like there is a lot of nuance to that. And everybody that every MC that we could put in that grouping right there, in that categorization, within that categorization, there'll be other categorizations. You know what I'm saying? So there'll be compartmentalized groups within that group. And
Right.
I think because you have some people, some MCs that do this purposely, knowing, you know what I'm saying? You know, what the guards will call what the guards would call the 10%ers, you know what I'm saying? The 10% that know the truth, you know what I'm saying? But choose to hide it and choose to use the truth to manipulate the 85%, right? So, and that's a great analogy. I love the mathematics of that. You know what I'm saying? That's something that's always stuck with me because that is what's happening. You know what I mean? And a lot of these people, they know how harmful certain things could be. They know that they're selling out, but they also want to manipulate their situation, pretend maybe that they don't know, or hide the truth, you know what I mean, or hide the fact that they know, you know what I'm saying, so that they can continue to monetize
Yeah.
whatever it is that they're doing. So
Or
that would be one grouping, you know what I'm saying? Then
yeah.
you have what would be considered the 85ers in that group. The people who don't know any better, who haven't had the proper teaching, you know what I'm saying? Who haven't come to the revelation of what they're doing. They don't even understand that they and this is uh I don't want to be so critical on people. This is what I'm learning, you know what I mean? To try to be a little bit more understanding of the situation because it truly is a dire one. And I don't want to demonize people who need learning, who need teaching. There's people who are in desperate need of teaching, and I don't want to demonize them before they get a chance to receive that teaching. You know what I'm saying? So what I would say, because the word pawn can certainly be used. You know what I'm saying? Like you could say these are pawns that are being used. You know what I mean? And many people are being used as pawns, but they might not know that they're being used as pawns. They
I,
might not be aware in any sense. You know what I'm saying? So
I I
it,
think also some people see that as their ticket, you know what I'm saying, which is sort of understandable, you know what I'm saying? There's that category as well. Um, but but yeah, I just lost my train of thought. Pardon me, man. Uh, so personally, I feel like again, I'm a I'm a hip hop head since the 80s. You know what I'm saying? I've been around for the long haul. I haven't seen everything. I don't pretend I know everything, but I've been around for the long haul. And I feel like what the rebellious spirit in hip hop has been for a long time, like on let's say the face of it, or let's say the mainstream side of it, is basically being out for self at the cost or disregard of other people around you.
mm,
And it's been so commonplace for so long in hip hop. It's to the point that to me, it's not even rebellious anymore. It's just like I see it. I hear people doing things that it's like slightly different style, but it's the same product at the end of the day. And I'm just like, I'm just not impressed anymore. You know what I'm saying? That's the point I've reached. I know. I just wanted to say, I don't know if you relate
that
to that,
that
but
resonates with me thoroughly, man. And that's my line of thinking with a lot of the thought pieces that I release when I put out these strong, opinionated, opinionated surely because everything is right, but it's also factual because this is what's happening. You know what I
right,
mean? And people think I'm attacking hip hop, but what they don't understand is that they are practicing something that, in my eyes, is not even real hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And I feel like what they're doing is attacking us, the very few of us who are presenting
right,
themselves as authentic and are speaking for the people and for the betterment of the culture overall. You know what I'm saying?
right,
And that's why, at times I'll say stuff like, yo, I don't want nothing to do with whatever this is because
right,
this is not, we're not doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So
right,
whatever you're
right,
calling what you do, that's not what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So, and I
right,
think that's
right.
misunderstood at times.
Yeah, yeah. And for the record, hip hop is the only genre I know at length. It's the only one I could give you a top five, literally. I turn to it for everything. You know what I mean? A lot of people go to different genres. I turn to hip hop for everything. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it's a place like I love the art form. You know what I'm saying? So I can't help but have an opinion on it after so many decades. You know what I'm saying? So
sure, sure.
yeah. So I heard you mention in an interview with Pat Miletich that you have a hard time distributing your music. Do you care to elaborate like in actual ways that happens? Because
Sure. Like there was a couple projects that I approached certain faculties or certain establishments, let's say, with and time and time again I've been told that the music is too, and I'll even, this is real, man. Like people have told me straight up, spoken to me directly and told me, yo, Gems, I personally love what you're doing and what you're saying, but I can't be associated with it.
wow, yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Because it's bad for business. What you're doing is you're peeling back the veil in a lot of ways, and you're
yeah,
showing people that the machine is rigged. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
that creates a problem for the people that I'm trying to work with on
Are
higher
these
levels. You know what I mean?
industry
So
people or like artists trying to get in the industry?
artists and industry people alike, both
Right,
ways,
right,
two-way street.
right, right. Um, So I was gonna ask you, you've been serious about music for a minute now, right? We've talked about a lot. Have you had a lot of brushes with the industry? Any experiences that stand out worth sharing?
In what sense you mean?
I don't know, being courted by labels or like, I don't know, dealing with A&Rs. I've never dealt with this shit personally, so I never got to that level, but
Yeah, I've been so independent for my whole, you know what I mean? But I've certainly been around people who have made offers, tentative offers, you know what I mean, that have come with conditions, you know what I
Right,
mean? And I've been offered quite a few things that I've turned down because I'm not the type of person that's gonna give you a project that where you're gonna make me self-censor. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right,
So definitely a bunch of shit like that. You know what I mean? Nobody's fucking worth naming that I would even give the light of day to be honest. You know what I'm saying?
right, right. Did you ever consider wavering at all in those situations?
Never. Never. No,
That's pretty dope,
that's
man.
not what I'm here for. And that's not I believe with all my heart that God has given me a gift.
Hmm.
Um, and also that that gift comes attached to a purpose. You know what I mean? And there is no sacrifice in that on any level for nobody. You know what I mean?
That's dope, man. Um, so one of your most potent tracks, in my opinion, is off your. It's called Nearer to the Truth. That's off your 2025 Integrity Project. That's one of my favorites.
Appreciate it.
Before I quote it, who produced that one?
I did.
The whole project?
I produced that whole project. Yeah.
I thought that was one of your best sonically, actually.
I
So
appreciate
that,
that. I appreciate that.
that,
Yeah,
that
I'm looking forward to doing that again, to revisiting that again, to producing another project for myself because it really felt like it's what I should be doing. You know what I mean?
that's dope. So I'm gonna do the quote here. So the people I once looked at as heralds of knowledge and wisdom, as men of morals and resilience, were seemingly offended and threatened by me. A strange reaction indeed from supposed men of the people, the same people who eagerly and gleefully celebrated my rage-filled and low vibrational expressions, and exalted me as a great artist to them, were now oppositional to my expressions of growth and enlightenment at a time when so much was at stake. Be cautious with your energy and where you spend it. These industry vampires have long sunk their teeth into everything from the underground to the mainstream, and the message is clear. They want us divided from one another and torn internally, worshiping their religion of materialism and blind obedience, doing our best to impress our impressors enough to be chosen for the next distraction. And I was going to ask you if that was aimed at industry people or artists, but I guess it's both, right?
It's
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 both.
both, and it's and the list is honestly too long to single any one person out, right? But I will say this though, and I said this time and time again. It's not individuals that we have to destroy. It's ideologies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to break the ideology. You have to destroy the ideology, and then you can help the people who have been misled, misguided, or affected by the ideology. You know what I'm saying? It's not about destroying individuals or attacking individuals because that won't help. You know. I said one time on the freestyle on Static Selector show, I said, um, my enemies are not mere thugs or street vendors. My scope is much wider. Target is dead center. You know what I mean? So it's like it's directly at the powers that be that are creating these ideologies and making rappers and MCs willingly self-censor, willingly attack each other for their entertainment, for
Reinforcing,
bloodsuckers. You know what I mean?
reinforcing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so you, like, as you mentioned, the same people eagerly and gleefully celebrated my rage-filled and low vibrational expressions, exalted me as a great artist, now oppositional. On that note, how do you look at your older work today? You know what I'm saying?
There are there are some things that I listen to and I'm like, it's tough for me, you know what I'm saying, to hear some of it. You know what I mean? It's tough because I feel some of it is misdirected, it's misguided, you know what I'm saying? And I've been open about this as well. You know, I have not been impervious to the snares of Shaitan, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
this has affected me as well. You know what I mean? In various ways and over the years at different times. I've risen, you know what I mean, in one sense, and then fallen back into darkness as well. You know, so yeah, yeah, I feel, you know, I feel I'm proud of much of what I've done. You know what I mean? I've never released not one project. I've never released, and I've somewhere upwards of like 15 projects now, I believe. And there's not one project I put out where there isn't something extremely substantial on there. And it's usually more than one. It's usually, at least half the project. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
and that is what spit that is truly the essence of what Spit Gems was designed to be in my mind when I came up with that idea. You know what I mean? Is to showcase both because I can't be a liar. Like I said, people know me in real
Right.
life. You know what I'm saying? So people know how villainous I've truly been. So it would
Right.
be fake for me to act like I'm 100% some conscious rapper and I'm all, you know what I mean? I'm fucking
Yeah.
lighting incense and eating fucking soybeans or something. Like that's just
Right.
not reality. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
I've I've been I've been a bastard, you know what I'm saying, for quite some time, man, and I've done a lot of shit that I'm not proud of. The music, what's so beautiful about the music is that it allows me to express those moments and use them as a way to pull you in to then listen to the substantial shit that what I mean, the grown, mature part of my soul, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. So again, like a testament to how you look at the art form, you had mentioned you're reaching your final form as an artist in one of your pods, right?
Indeed.
It's cool hearing you talk about that stuff again because it shows how serious you are. Can you take us through your journey as an artist and where you feel you've landed today to summarize for your fans?
Sure. I feel like because of my life too and being a father, has so much to do with it. You know what I mean? I've been a father now for 25 years. I've learned so much, and my child has helped me grow. You know what I mean? Is responsible for much of my growth. I've learned how to be a proper man, a proper husband. You know what I'm saying? I've learned so much has changed in my personal life that it's only natural for it to fully come to fruition in my music. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I feel where I'm at right now. My next project, and I could leak the title. The title of the next project is Origin of Crime, and this will be the cap. Like this will probably be the last time you hear me talk about certain things in a certain way. And
Uh,
and the album leads up to one track at the end, and it's like I'm finally able to tell you where the anger comes from and where, you know what I mean, where a lot of the misdirection came from and where a lot of my missteps have their origin, you know what I mean? Hence the title Origin of Crime. You know what I mean? And I really look forward to putting this one out, man. I think that people are gonna like it. Um and it deals with, it's a Spit Gems album. It deals with the dark and the light
uh,
as
uh,
well. You know what I'm saying? But
is there a timeline for when it's dropping, like an ETA or too early?
I would say this will probably be out within the next month.
Dope.
Yeah.
Dope, man. Who's producing it? Who's
So I produced half of it,
okay.
about half of the production I handled, and then I've got a list of other MCs on there, Simplex, Alcapella, um, man, I just a bunch, man. A bulk of the production actually is produced by me.
Right, right. Dope, dope, man. We'll look out for it, man. Definitely will push it on my side.
Much
Speaking
appreciated.
of kids, man, I have two like boys, 7 and 10, and I remember when my wife was pregnant, I'm like, if I have a daughter, I think I would learn a lot about life. You know what I mean? I'm good with two kids. I don't have a daughter, but what has having a daughter taught you about life that like you wouldn't have learned otherwise, man? If you care to entertain the question.
Yeah, it's not an easy question to answer. You know what I mean? It seems like it should be right there, but there's just so much to it. It's just such a vast journey of experiences. I would say though, tenderness. You know what I mean? I was a very rigid man in my youth. You know what I mean? And
Right.
even as for much of her life, I was still very rigid and very um stern, haunted, I would say. You know what I'm saying? And it's definitely taught me to a certain kind of tenderness, a certain kind of gentleness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A patience, a
Yeah.
patience that I think only a man of that cloth could learn from such a sweet little child. You know what I
Wow.
mean?
Yeah. 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 I'm still learning not to be snappy, man, even with boys. But yeah, man,
Yeah.
it's crazy, man. Um, so I know you read quite a bit, man. What does your reading regimen look like these days? What are you reading right now, man?
Right now, I'm rereading the Odyssey right now. Um, just because I wanted to revisit it, not because the movie's coming out now. You know what I mean? I started rereading it before I even heard that the movie was coming back out. You know what I mean? But it was kind of coming off the back of rereading the Iliad as well. And yeah, which is a deep dive. You know what I mean? Another book that I wanted to dive back into. And I haven't fully cracked it all the way open yet. I've been picking at it is Herman Hesse's Siddhartha. And the reason for that is because Siddhartha was a book that was gifted to me by not, well, it wasn't physically given to me. It was recommended by A1, you know what I mean? By my brother A1. And he said it was a life-changing book for him. And when I first read the book, it led me to writing the song Think Wait Fast. And that's the first song that I wrote off of the Homeschool album, which is, like I said, which is, I think, is probably maybe my best album. It's between Integrity and Homeschool, I think. Um, and so I'm beginning to crack back at that as well. And it's not a very lengthy book. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of short actually. It's written by Herman Hesse, but I'll get to that in completion once I finish rereading the Odyssey. I love ancient mythology, man. I just, you know what I mean? It's probably one of my favorite things to read, and not just Greek mythology, every Egyptian mythology, all of it. You know what I mean?
So, you know what? I didn't read that much in my life. I went through periods of reading things here and there, but in your opinion, is it possible to be an MC, like a real MC or a god MC, let's say, without reading?
It's difficult to say. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think, maybe not, because you have to dive into authors and writers that have presented their stories and their thoughts before you. I think that's an essential part of learning, not learning prose, because prose comes natural for a lot of MCs. I feel like my sense of prose has there's a strong inclination of naturalness to that, but also reading great authors has also contributed to the prose and contributed to the
Yeah,
experimenting with different word groupings and approaches to terminologies and how to get an idea off. Like my favorite author is Friedrich Nietzsche, and probably the most powerful literature that I've ever read would be Thus Spake Zarathustra. And that changed that. There was undoubtedly a leveling up of my writing after reading that material.
well,
I don't I
yeah.
don't I don't think you can read that material comprehensively and not be changed as a writer or as an orator even.
I mean, to this day, I like my first favorite MCs were Rakim and then Nas, and that sequence and that timeline. To me, they're in many ways they're still the pinnacle of this shit, and they're well read.
No
You know what I'm
doubt.
saying?
No,
So,
exactly.
uh, yeah. So did you really consider hanging it up last year or like dropping your last album?
Multiple
Obviously, I
times.
think, and that's a real moment to say I'm done. You know what I mean? What was going through your head, bad? Like what's going through your mind when you're weighing this
Yeah,
shit out?
multiple times throughout the journey I've said to myself, this is it. And sometimes for different reasons, you know what I mean? One reason, like I can give you an example of one reason would be the time away from my family, because that takes
Yeah,
it takes that's it's a very, very time consuming uh profession. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You need to be alone a lot in order to write at the level that I feel I write at. You know what I mean? And
Right.
I can't just phone it in. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not that doesn't do it for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd rather
Right.
just not do it at all. And at times when I felt like there was a tug of war between my personal life, time spent with my family, and writing and diving as deep as I need to dive in when I'm writing, at those times I thought about hanging it up for sure. Like, you know what? I would certainly trade this for more time with my family.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly. You know what I'm saying? And interestingly enough, man, my daughter has consistently been the reason why I haven't hung it up. Because this shit means so much to her. You know what I mean? Me being who I am means so much
Yeah.
to her. I see the influence and the impact it has on her. You know what I mean? And the conversations we've had is sometimes talking to her is like I'm talking to a fucking philosopher from
Yeah.
the 700s. You know what I'm saying?
So sometimes you need something for yourself to keep your head afloat. You know what I mean, though? Like,
That's another thing that has pulled me back in constantly. That
yeah, yeah.
there's certain therapy to this, undoubtedly.
Right, right, right. So I'm gonna quote another quote, man, if you don't mind. Um, I think you wrote this at the time you said you were thinking of hanging it up. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're like, hip hop has become the most toxic, lowbrow, vapid, talentless, and corniest kind of music and culture there is. It's honestly embarrassing for the few of us that have a brain and prioritize substance over whatever the fuck is going on right now. A long time ago, I made it clear I have no desire to be associated with what that shit has become. It's nothing more than a distraction now, a sedative. Maybe it always was, and just a handful of us tried to fight against the inevitability of it all. Nothing has let me down quite like seeing people fold to the need for attention so grossly just to remain relevant, pandering to politicians, obsessing over materialism, becoming masters of gossip and slander, devolving into racially driven hate mongers, elevating the most unintelligent idiots to the status of prophets. This shit is gross.
Yeah.
So, how did you get from that to I'm back? You know what I'm saying? Like, what
Well,
the change of heart? I guess it was your daughter, right? You kind of
well,
mentioned it,
my
but
daughter is constantly. That wasn't exactly me saying I'm done in that post. Like that's not what I
okay,
was trying to
okay. That's
express.
not the
I'm
timeline. That's
done.
not the okay.
It's more me. That's more of me cementing, reaffirming a position that I've had for a very long time already, which was this grouping, right? So when you talk about culture, right, this is important too. When you talk about culture, they say, especially like hip hop culture, right? And then uh a publication will come out with the top 50 MCs of all time. And fucking Little Yachty will be on it, and Cardi B will be on it, right? And
Right.
this is hip hop culture, quote unquote hip hop culture that they're speaking of, right? So when I
Yeah.
say I've long ago I've stated that I want nothing to do with whatever this shit has become, that's precisely the kind of shit that I'm talking about. So when you
Yeah.
talk about culture, we have to understand that we're not all talking about the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't you can't talk about a Nas and then talk about a fucking Cardi B or a Little Yachty and and try to surmise or try to propose that these people do the same things or that
Yeah.
they're in the same
It's not the
culture.
same genre. It's not,
This is
it's
not this it doesn't work that way for me. And
yeah.
some people may argue against this and you know what I
Yeah.
mean, yo, you gotta take the good with the bad. Listen, man, this is why I say you have to be very careful with the word culture because the word cult is also the first part of that word. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there is a lot of cult like people that claim to be of the culture. You know what I mean? But what they're really about is this materialism that I'm talking about, this constant erosion from the inside out, like the fucking Ouroboros, you know, the snake eating its own tail.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's like it's and that's what I mean about when I say this shit is gross. I'm talking about the political pandering. I'm talking about the racial division. They keep using hip hop as a tool to divide people racially. right? They keep using hip hop as a tool to represent certain groups of people as low class or low IQ or fucking savage
Mm.
or to present us in a way like we're buffoons, right? And this is what I've been combating for so long. This is what I'm talking about when I say this shit is gross and I want nothing to do with it. That's me saying, do not confuse what Spit Gems does for the same hip hop as what they're claiming over there to be hip hop culture. You know what I mean? You got these fucking talking heads, podcasts, let's say, right? Podcasts have become the most divisive and damaging thing to true artistry, especially when it comes to hip hop. You know what I mean? So
Right.
these thought pieces, this is what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Rappers are being used, MCs are being used, artists are being used, but let's focus on rappers and MCs, right? Are being used as political pawns in multiple agendas, left and right, all over the place. You know what I'm saying? And I mean literally
Right.
left and right, both spectrums of the bird. You know what I'm saying? Of the propaganda machine. You know, I've seen MCs be used to promote fucking needle, injections of fucking shots that may or may not be fucking potentially dangerous. You know what I'm saying? I've seen
Yeah.
MCs be used to promote fast food and liquor. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't tell me that I'm supposed to align with this or I'm supposed to be complicit in this because it's of the culture. If hip hop is counterculture, then I'm the counterculture within the counterculture. You know what I'm saying? This
Right.
is what I'm trying to
Right.
express. And listen,
Right.
I'm not alone in this. A lot of people feel this way. I mentioned, I got a lot of legends on my line. I could go in my phone and call a who's who list of grand contributors to hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And when I do that, or when they text me, you know what I mean, yo, Gems, you wilding out, man. They do it with a little bit of comedy in it oftentimes because they know that what I'm saying is right on the fucking nose. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But it's
Mm.
it's also it's also damaging to the illusion that many people profit from. A lot of people benefit from the illusion of this unified culture. We cannot allow, right? True artists cannot allow themselves to be swept up in this word culture if it means you have to self-censor or be complicit to absolute buffoonery and devilment. You know what I'm saying? You just can't allow that to be.
I
If you have to be a villain, be the villain, but speak for the people. And that's
right.
that's what I aim to do. You know what I mean?
Right. Uh I'm happy to have witnessed, you know, the golden era to see some of the balance at that time. Things wasn't perfect, but it was way more balanced. And I am a guest, I'm from the era where I recognize myself as a guest to the culture, so I tread lightly. But sometimes when I hear people throw the word culture around, doing it for the culture, I wonder what is your definition of the culture, right?
Right.
Because like, yeah,
Right. And there's
um,
and there's not, and if you ask different people, which I've built with so many different people, um, you do not get a solidified answer, a unified,
yeah,
agreed upon answer of what the culture is, right? You can talk about hip hop in terms of what the original elements are, right? Which most people are far removed from. You know what I mean? Most people have never fucking gone bombing in their life, have never done a piece or fucking know the first thing about graffiti history. um you know what I'm saying, out predating hip hop and then along with it and to today, they couldn't tell you the first thing. Most people have never come in contact with b-boy, with the b-boy element of it. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of these people claiming to be of the culture and for the culture have no fucking idea what they're talking
what
about.
just the, like on a literal sense, when I think of the word culture, I think of a group of people doing things, having having behaviors, patterns, whatever that support the survival of that culture. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
That's how I tend to think of the word culture, like in general. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So yeah. Um. So I think you're one of the first MCs, and I'm gonna spell this word out to use even the word Ninja in your raps, right? I don't even
Ninja.
want to say the word. Yeah, you've been doing that for a minute, man. I don't think I've heard someone do it as extensively of you. Was
Yeah.
it a battle to let go of that word? Because you've been doing it for a minute.
Yeah, well, see, this is the thing, and I'll give credit is due. And I appreciate you saying I'm one of the first people you've heard using that extensively like that. But
Like outside of comments, on social media, you've been doing this
yeah,
for
but
like
and this is
for
important. This is super important. What's going on now with that word and the emoji has
okay,
nothing to do. The way it's being used now has nothing to do with how I was using it and where I
okay,
got it from. So first and
gotcha,
foremost,
gotcha.
credit where credit is due. Mitchell Ames, MC from, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Mitchell Ames, MC from East New York, who has a long and strong history in hip hop. Did records with Buck Wild back in the fucking 90s under
Off
the
memory, no, I
under
don't
the
remember off
title,
memory.
had a group called
Okay,
Fatal Fountain coming out of East New York. Had a single out with Buck Wild, all about wars, and 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 an extensive, catalog after that as well, and who also was one of my rhyme partners for many many years. You know what I'm saying? Um, he was the first person I heard using that word extensively and in the way that he was using it, but how he was using it and how I also used it was referring to an actual fucking practitioner of ninjutsu.
okay, got you,
You know what I'm
gotcha. I
saying?
wasn't sure when I heard it. I got you.
Yeah, yeah. You would hear him, say different things. Shinobi's on deck. You know what I mean? This was something. This was a love for the '80s. We '80s babies. You know what I'm saying? And
Okay,
the
gotcha,
culture of
gotcha.
ninjas in the '80s was
Got it. You
fucking
said it. You said
fanatical.
it so often. I wasn't sure, like in some of
Yeah.
your
So when I be
projects. So
like, yo,
yeah,
my ninja, you know what I mean? That was like,
yeah,
that's not me saying, yo, peace, my nigga, yo, what up, my nigga?
right.
That's me saying, that's a different kind of
Gotcha.
esteem I'm giving you. I'm saying you my ninja, like you stealthy, you sharp, you know what I mean? You on point, you know what I'm saying? So, but
Gotcha.
now it has been with social media and all that, it's used in the other way as a replacement for the
Y-
other word. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that, yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah,
No,
that
no
that's
relation. Gotcha.
word.
So you made a post, remain focused and keep your humanity. Everyone voting blue isn't a shill, and everyone voting red isn't a racist. Don't let these people make you hate your neighbor for the same sake of their popularity contest. That resonated with me recently when I talked to people, like meeting people and getting into like some heavier conversations. As soon as I mention one point of view, they start throwing you in a box, right, left. There's
Right.
no room for conversation. What has your experience been lately? Because I feel it sort of ties to that.
Yeah, I feel like society on a large scale has spiraled into these everybody is shaving down into whatever fits a person's, like if a person has because a lot of people have no true critical thinking, no identity of their self, like their identity is projected onto them, and then once that's grafted onto them, they if they cherish it and it becomes it has a lot to do with tribalism as well because people want to be a part of something. You know what I mean? And so they fall for it's a pitfall, it's a trap. They become attached to this identity politics kind of version of themselves. And then if you're opposed to something that they have latched onto, then you must be the enemy. You know what I mean? You
Yeah,
must
it's
be,
crazy. It's
and
crazy, man.
I didn't grow up like that. Obviously, we're of a certain age. That's not how life was for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was so much more nuance and all that, and most people never even spoke about these things. Um, at the lengths that we speak of now, that especially at the extremities, the extremes that people go to with this shit now, and I feel like social media is engineered to do this to people. You know what I mean? To create this kind of drone bot kind of thinking, this robotic kind of thinking, where like people even fucking they look exactly like they aim to look exactly and present themselves exactly as the other people who agree with them on a political level, they'll even begin to like assimilate an
Yeah,
exterior that matches that, which is
it's
fucking
crazy.
insane. You know what I mean? And I try to point that out to people, and I try to combat that in any way that I can because it's harmful, undoubtedly. And it's not only is it harmful, but it's exactly what certain powers that be want you to do. They
It,
want us to accept these roles and then fucking fight about it.
when we're policing ourselves, our speech, ourselves at that level, it's like we're doing half the job for them. You know what
Indeed.
I mean? That's my recent thoughts on it, man. So look, man, here's the final quote, man, and then I got two closing questions specifically
That
for you, man, for my
yeah,
guest.
the
It's
battery is
been,
definitely about to go.
yeah, man. Thanks for your time, bro, man. I hope you
Got it, man.
enjoyed
Thank you
this,
for the
man.
opportunity.
Yeah, man. So this final quote. It may seem like I'm saying fuck hip hop, but that couldn't be further from the truth. I am hip hop in its purest form, one of the few who can truly make the claim. My expression on the culture are designed to challenge the de-evolution of the art form and awakening or awaking the sleeping out of their slumber. And I've earned my right to do so as I've been a guardian of it since I was a child. I was born into this culture, and my catalog and resume speaks for itself in spades. Stay tuned for what's next. On that note, what's next for Spit Gems? You mentioned your next album, but anything more you want to share about what's next for
Yeah,
Spit Gems?
certainly, man. Certainly. So, um, definitely the album. I'll mention the title again, "Origin of Crime," and there is a song on the title. There is a title track of the same name, "Origin of Crime," that has taken me a lifetime to write, and I'm very pleased with how it came out, and it's something I can't wait to share. So definitely that album is next. Um, and then also there's a literary release, something I've also been working on for a long time, and I've tried to figure out exactly how to release it, and I finally understand that it needs to be released in volumes. So volume one, my first book ever, will be released this year. Um,
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
I'm super excited about that, man, because whatever I can't give you in rhyme form, man, I can give it to you. You know what I mean? I'm pretty fucking sharp with a pen when I'm just writing as well. You know what I'm saying? And it's also based largely around the music too, so you get a lot of insight to what I've said on a lot of songs and what I meant and where I'm coming from. You know what I mean? Uh,
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. I cannot share the title of that yet because I'm still waiting for some copyright shit and all that. But that will be released this year, undoubtedly.
How long has that been in the works for you? Is that a lifelong thing? Like,
I would say when I first started planning to write a book, it was maybe 2004. I was in prison, and it changed so many times and took so many different forms. I even at one time I it began originally it began as a work of half fiction, half reality intertwined. You know what I mean? A way of telling a story, and that version of it I still have, and that will also be released eventually. You know what I mean? But I decided to just go with a solely a reality based version of it, and yeah, volume one of that will be out this year,
that's
undoubtedly.
still that's still, man. It's one thing to rap about something that has its power, but it's one thing to just write and say things. It has like another power to it. You know what I mean?
For
To
sure.
your point. So, yeah, man. So, closing questions just for you. What is the biggest misconception about Spit Gems?
It's hard to say, you know what I mean, because I don't really trouble myself so much with how people perceive me. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not overly worried about that.
Cool.
Um, but you know what I will say though, I think people think that I'm like in because I speak so passionately about religion and organized religion, specifically about Christianity. I've written multiple songs that may seem like polemics. They may seem like I'm attacking Christianity, um, but that's not true. What I'm attacking is ideologies, like I said, right? And I don't want anybody to ever think that I'm an anti-Jesus guy, right? because that's not exactly true either. My thoughts are very unique on this character, and I guess I could sum it up by saying what I believe about this person, this figure in history. I believe that this person existed. I believe that his name and his mission have been misrepresented, and I believe that the Bible was probably used to do that. The New Testament was greatly
Yeah,
used to
right.
misrepresent a person who I have a great deal of respect for. You know what I'm saying? So
I mean,
maybe that's the grand.
people have been rewriting history, in more recent times too, right? So it might have happened. Who knows, right? Um, yeah, man. And then the last question: who is Spit Gems without hip hop?
Hmm. A fucking pit fighter, probably.
Nice.
Ah man, without hip hop, I think without hip hop, I still would have found myself in a literary field. You know what I mean? I would have been writing books. I would have been researching topics and writing books and giving my thoughts out to the world. Transmitting my expressions and ideas through my pen. Still, maybe not in
Right,
song form or in rap form, but
right.
still a writer, an author, undoubtedly.
Got it, man. Dope, dope. So it's been an honor talking to you, man. I knew this would be a great conversation. And just gonna shout out people before we depart. We got Ag the Corner. Thank you for joining.
Shout
Peter
out to
C.
AG.
Seppi, Max Low Hip Hop. Who else have we got here? A lot of other folks have cruised through. Any final words before we depart, man?
Yeah, well, shout out to you. You know what I mean? Obviously, man, thank you for the opportunity. I enjoyed this, man. This was a thorough interview, man. So I appreciate that. And just to all the I'll leave off with this, man. To all those who truly believe in artistry, I'd like to encourage you to continue to rebel. Don't lose the spirit of rebelliousness. You know what I'm saying? Like, continue to fight back with your words, man, and don't allow the allure of fame or fortune fucking lull you to sleep to the point where you become, a fucking disposable pawn for people who will never love you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well said, man. So it's been an honor, Gems. Have a great night, everyone.
Likewise, brother. Peace.
Peace.